Welcome back to the Reboot Show. I'm your host, Sally A. Illingworth, and I'm excited to be here today for our 8th segment of the DIF Daily Download series powered by Big Mouth. Before we get started, I'd like to hand over to Luke to do our acknowledgement of country.
Yeah, thanks, Sally. On behalf of us all appearing live today from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, we would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations as the traditional owners of the land in which we meet on today. We respectfully recognise elders past, present and emerging.
Thanks, Luke. As always, if you're coming in live, drop a 1 below. If you're coming in on the replay, drop a 2 below. And as always, let us know where you're coming in from. Today, I'm joined by our resident technology panelist, Luke Stowe, and Kelly Hutchinson from Digital Innovation Futures Victoria. So to kick us off, Kelly, what happened at the festival today?
Well, it was Friday, and I thought, it'll be a nice quiet day. I was in back-to-back sessions all day, and they were so interesting, and that's one of the things about the festival. So I'm going to pull up my diary to actually see what was I doing this morning. And, one of the things was that we've talked a lot about this week about, people haven't talked a lot about it, the challenges of the times we're living in. Yep. And that sometimes it can be really hard to manage the stress and the pressures that we're living in with our work, with our lives, and all of those things blending in. And so it was really nice at lunchtime to take some time out and listen to an author who's a leading public policy who I actually worked with in government before and is actually still working in government, Andrew Weir, with local government with the City of Melbourne. And he's just written a book called Recovery. Now that came out, he managed to write it in, over the period of time that we've gone through the pandemic. But what was really interesting about it was it helped ground where we are today with where we've been before. So I think we've talked a little bit before about you look back to history to learn from it, to know where you want to go. And it's all part of a continuum. And it's when you stop to realize that we're in one point across that time frame and that we've been here as humanity before, whether it's been crisis, the global financial crisis, how did we respond, natural disasters like the tsunami in Aceh. So it was a really interesting perspective on recovery. And he'd actually done a previous book called Solved, which looked at how have complex problems been addressed around the world. So it was a really great way to take some time out, which is what I love about DIF, is you can take some time out and think about some of the bigger questions that we have. And this one was with our community's Australian Institute of Community Directors. So it was really important because those are the organisations that are on the front line that are seeing more needs for their services. And so it was really, it was really great to take a moment and to listen and to hear and put today in perspective of yesterday, and with a real hope that if we go forward with an idea of recovery and about building back better, which has been a phrase that's been used a lot. It actually very much came out of international development. And that's sort of where we're at now. So, yeah, it was really good. So while it's not about technology per se, technology is a tool. We've all talked about this. Technology is created by people to solve a problem. And, it helps in, say, humanitarian crises, to keep people connected, to find people, all of those elements, put the resources where they might be needed. But in the end, it's, still having the right mindset around there is a better future if we create it. So, yeah. I bought the book. I even bought a physical book for you, Sally. I said, I'm going to buy not the ebook. I'm going to see if I buy a paperback, that I might actually hold the paper after our conversation yesterday, Sal, about, the benefits of reading a book.
I love holding books. I'm a little bit old school like that. I love picking up a book and scribing in it. But I think you raise a really important point, Kelly, around perspective and, just to sort of link it to, as you highlighted, a sort of theme that's threaded throughout the series so far. Is with everything that's gone on, I think perspective has been so important. And Luke, I know you probably have some thoughts because I know that you have certain perspectives and et cetera around scenario planning. And that was something that I heard you talking a lot about at the beginning of the pandemic, which really does link to trying to put things into perspective and be really grounded, throughout the process, whether you're going through a digital transformation or you're responding to matters relating to COVID, for example.
No, look, I love listening to Kelly talk about the book, and Building Back Better really resonates with me. I think that we have, been forced somewhat into this position where we've got a chance to really rethink things. And, I think reinvention is a sort of a theme that I would apply to it as well, where, it's not just building back the same, but it's really rethinking how we're going to build back things in a better way for us as humans, and how we're going to impact on our lives and livelihoods with better ways of doing things. And technology is going to be at the cornerstone of that, and I think that there's going to be a real need for the digital connections that we've made during COVID to really be amplified and used in more meaningful ways moving forward. So we've touched on lots of different topics over the course of the DIF over the last week and a bit, where we've talked about what it's doing for accessibility, what it's doing for digital inclusion. We've talked about schools and medical, and every facet of our lives is being touched by a new digital way of doing things. And for me, reinvention is going to be really important coming out of the pandemic. They'll say it'll never end. They're calling it the endemic now. It just continues on. I don't want to buy into any of that. I just sort of think, what a great opportunity for us to improve the lives. And, I sort of feel, just to round that out, when I sit back and I watch people come on the news and I see their stories, and I'm sort of heartbroken for what they're going through, I think to myself, why isn't there more being done to provide practical tools for these people to reinvent the way they're doing their business? Why isn't there tools that can help them rethink how to turn that pizza shop that's not getting any customers into a digital pizza shop? Like, what is going on where we're just sort of sitting back in this reactionary sort of tactical mode and not thinking about this strategically? Because tactics aren't going to get us out, now I'm really preaching. But you get the theme I'm saying. What we need, as I sit here in Melbourne in my New York hat, I should have thought that through. But what we need to do is really think about how technology is going to help Victorians to reinvent their businesses.
Yeah, and I think tying the word reinvention into recovery is really important, because to what you're highlighting, recovery isn't just about trying to reinstate what once was off the back of COVID. It's about reinventing as a consequence of COVID. Some things may be similar to what they once were, but how can we build back better by doing things better? Not just trying to replace what was and what was happening pre-COVID. Sorry, Kelly, you were going to jump in before?
No, look, absolutely. And look, with the Victorian government, one of the things we talked about is, we talk about strategic and tactical. The reality is sometimes you do need tactical and you need new tools, but it's very hard to know what tools to use, and for small businesses. And that's what the Regional Growth Summit and the Regional Growth Project is doing. It's working with businesses to get their digital mindset, to rethink how they might approach their business in regional. And that challenge is just the same for somebody in the city. And that they were looking at some of the economic benefits and the economic challenges of how to re-engage. And we know that towns really are that central strip of the way that they're set up of traditional Melbourne towns and Melbourne suburbs. I live in the Dandenong Ranges, and they're villages all the way along main roads, apart from Upway where the road goes past it, but that makes it nice. So there's different ways and ways that we have to look at it, the different tools that we can use to work smarter, So we were talking about automation a bit yesterday. And one of the ebooks that we were offering on download, which was really looking at how can you use these different tools to help your business be smarter, and smarter means you're able to spend more time on the human interaction, the human relationships, which is what brings the value of the business. Why it's your business, why you want to have your pizza shop. What's different about your and how you can spend time connecting with the community, because that your ordering is well streamlined, and that you're being able to get the orders in, all of those basic things that are every business has to go through, supply chain, all of these things. And I think that's where there's been a real shift. And as I said before, that there's the business digital adaptation program that Business Victoria runs, where small businesses can apply to have a subsidised access to particular digital tools to try them, right? To say, okay, well, I want to look at an accounting, or I want to look at other types of software that I might be able to implement in my business. And there were some interesting new tools that came out around retail, not retail, but hospitality. So I don't know if, it's one of those things of trying to remember over the past 18 months where and how we've been living. But there was that thing where you can, go to a restaurant and you're not using paper menus, that you're logging. It was in a time when we didn't have the standard QR code, but I think it'll still adapt to this, being I'm able to scan to know that this is the menu and I buy online. Yeah. So whilst it means that then the waitresses and the waiters staff and the chefs are having a direct line from me at my table ordering what I want, going straight to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then that means that, well, there's more time, and it's not that rushed element that might be the having to get the order and making sure it's right and remembering it, and all of that human error. You leave the space for people to actually interact and talk, and it's some of that we talk about a lot with technology over the years. It's about disintermediation, making direct activity. And so even in the hospitality sector, I think there's some innovations there. And again, it's just utilizing the technology. We're comfortable with our phones. We know then also it's our phone we're touching. We're not touching a menu or and then it's going through. So I think there's some little pockets of inspiration and innovation that have happened that I think will stay with us. And
Kelly, I just want to, it's Friday and, it's been a long week, and I want to congratulate you and the DIF on, what you've been able to pull together this year in this time has been fantastic. And I personally just think, my hypothesis listening to you talk just then and the conversation we've been having over the course of this week is, what a wonderful platform for everyone to start sharing their digital strategies for how we make Victoria and Melbourne the digital capable state and city that we know it can be. Don't just go back into your shells and take your strategy and only share it with, yourself, Melbourne City Council and Victorian government and, MCG and whoever else. Share the things. Share it so that we can truly come together as a consolidated digital, state and capability. And what a wonderful platform you've provided in the DIF for people to be able to do that. And so get on board, everyone. That's my message.
Thank you so much. And look, the fact is that you're a small, you're a new media outlet. The fact is, saying I'm going on television at 5:30. I mean, I'm not on television, but how is the difference of sitting here looking like this than on my television? Everything is integrated in the boundaries around that. And, that's what keeps me working the time I do. And I remember I had a problem today. I had a truck back into my pet litter box. And I'm standing on the street going, I'm in the middle of a digital innovation. I'm in the middle of a festival. And they went, oh. And I went, I know, you wouldn't think I was, would you? And they said, oh. I said, well, it is digital. So it's on.
Right.
It's happening. I was still on a webinar that I was listening to. Right. So I'm dealing with taking photographs with the phone that has got the webinar of the damage to the mailbox, all of those type. It's just mind blowing. But there's just such, but then with through the phones, and I was thinking about the trades being able to come, and every trade who comes to look at whether it's fixing guttering or looking at trimming a tree takes photos, and that gets put through to all of the materials that they need to do the quoting and the like. So it's every part, and it's at the comfort level. We talk about change a lot. So people fear change, but they don't realize they've changed the exact way they live and learn and do everything just happened around them. So when you get them to get their mindset, so the mindset of it, being a big change, well, actually, you've already gone through quite a lot of change and you like new things. And we were talking, I think, this week about, Victorians being really good early adopters, and so one thing that's happening next week is the iAwards, which is the reason we built the festival was that we have, the National IT Awards, Innovation Awards, across every type of sector, but, you know, industrial applications, advanced technologies, but startups. But what I've always loved about it is the best solutions I've seen are driven from the real need of the person on the front line. Yeah. So it's a medical device or digital solution. If a doctor's been involved, likelihood of it being better will be high. Or if it's a tradie who's looked at billing and transactions and the like, again. So when the business person has the business problem, then comes up with the idea for the solution, then finds the technologist to help them build it. That's what's exciting. And actually, I will say, I know we've got to talk about the Daily Download book, but I was just at Startup Shakeup, which was a new accelerator that's been run for businesses in the northeast of Victoria. So that runs from Benalla and Mansfield and all up that direction. And, you know, it's things that we talked about this week about different businesses and that platforms and marketplaces are created. So I talked about Buy from Benalla, and that this guy I'd seen at another pitch on Monday night for another project, and he's on this one as well. So there's these entrepreneurs out there who are driving, you know, going out and talking to the boutique distillers and beer makers and cider makers that are out in his area, and actually trying to work out a way to help them improve their business and increase their supply markets, but also do it in a sustainable model that will keep building. And as the confidence grows, as the brand grows, all of these different things. So, you know, it's an entrepreneurial mindset that we as Australians, and I would say Victorians, are really embracing technology, and it can really make a transition for us in all the different ways that we need to, you know, work and live.
Yeah. And all on showcase on the DIF.
Yeah. What?
And all showcased on the DIF.
That's right. Sorry, I missed the line. It's actually raining on a tin roof here, and the CFA siren's going off, and I'm getting a notification on my smartwatch of what that notification was from the CFA.
It's probably cloud seeding.
If I can just backtrack for a second and then let everyone know what our DIF Daily Download is today, mindful of time. But, you know, I think the comments you made, Luke, around, you know, sort of, you know, sharing of strategies, et cetera, and just thinking about, say, the hospitality sector in general. You know, I spent 8 years working in the hospitality sector, and I think that's a really key point. A lot of them right now are just looking for inspiration, because I remember, you know, even 7 years ago, the amount of, change I was trying to drive in terms of adoption of technologies, which can be very challenging for very traditional businesses like that. And so now's the perfect time for them to be, getting the support they need to go along on that journey. And I think, Luke, you raise a really good point in terms of, come on, big guys, you know, the big companies, lead by example and, you know, support the smaller businesses. I think that's really key. But without further ado, our DIF Daily Download today is really focused on the what, why, and how of content on the LinkedIn platform. So I won't go into too much detail on that, but everyone can jump online to our website and go and grab that download. I'm not sure if you wanted to share any thoughts on that, Luke, around content on LinkedIn.
It's so important. I mean, you know, it's like you're in a crowded restaurant, and if you're not sort of putting up your hand and getting attention, then no one's going to look for you. So, you know, you've got to get out there, whether it's on the DIF platform or LinkedIn or one of the other profiles. Content's really important.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Kelly Hutchinson from Digital Innovation Futures Victoria, for joining us today. And of course, our resident technology panelist, Luke Stowe. We will be back again on Monday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the, I believe it's the 9th segment of the DIF Daily Download series.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.